Hi everyone, it's Red Bard. I do not believe I have been on this channel for a hot second. Well over a year ago is the last time, if I'm not mistaken. But Brody is super busy training for the Ant-Olympics right now, and while I'm not entirely sure what that means, what I do know is that means he needs help with video making this week because he needs to focus as much of his time and energy as possible on training to make sure these Ant-Olympics are the best they can possibly be. So here I am. I figured I could spend 3 to 5 minutes just prattling on about a topic that I think is cool. And fun fact, this is actually the third take I'm doing. In the first one, I thought, oh, I'll just talk about Margaret of York. He's training for the Ant-Olympics. Margaret of York was a pretty cool aunt. Yeah, you get it? So I was like, I'll just talk about Margaret of York. But then that was 8 minutes long. So I was like, that's way too long. So instead, I figured I would give you all a different history lesson. I would tell you about one of my favorite just weird things to tell people about, and that is Jefferson's Salt Mountains. So, sometime back while Jefferson was president, Zebulon Pike led an expedition through modern-day Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, that whole area. And when they reached Oklahoma, I guess there was a miscommunication between Pike and his men and Jefferson, and basically, Pike ran into something we now know as the Great Salt Plains. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is just a big plain of salt, and back in Jefferson's time, salt was something of I don't want to say a full-blown luxury product, but it was expensive, and if you could afford salt, you got salt. It was the best, if not the only way to preserve your food, and they didn't really have an easy time getting it around this time. But yeah, so Jefferson hears about what we now know is the Great Salt Plains, and he hears Great Salt Plains, and he hears literal mountain of salt. So he went on this big, speech thing. There's an essay of it that exists somewhere. I forget what it's called at the top of my head. But, he says at one point, there exists a massive mountain of salt, and he proceeds to, give its measurements and talk about how pumped he is about this fucking... Crap, I can't say fuck, can I? But yeah, he just goes on about this John Mandeville-esque salt mountain, and he's thinking, this is great, everybody's gonna think this is great, but it was the opposite. He got so laughed at. One of his critics, a friend of Alexander Hamilton's, if I'm not mistaken, criticized him for not mentioning the river of molasses or the sugar trees or something like that, something really sarcastic. And in a way, Jefferson wasn't too off track about Salt Mountains, because when he saw everybody making fun of him, he became a massive mountain of saltiness. But and later down the road, might have been after Jefferson died, I don't remember, certainly after he was president, another explorer, I forget who, was intrigued by the idea of the Great Salt Mountain, and they went out here and they figured out, oh, it was actually a plain, and they set the record straight. But in conclusion, there was a period of time where Thomas Jefferson, who at the time was one of the most educated men in the country, he thought that there was a big mountain of salt in Oklahoma. So, just your fun fact for the day. Brody, I hope you're doing well with the Ant-Olympics. Keep trying to tell y'all, history is fun.